Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Samantha, and today we're going to be talking about books, like we do every day here. More specifically, I'm going to be doing another installment of my Steinbeck journals, and we are going to be talking about Cup of Gold. So yes, before we get into that though, I will need to put a disclaimer on this video that I am very tired. A little anecdote. This morning I was teaching a class of students and referred to myself as mommy. So, strange students, their parents being right there, I referred to myself as mommy. So, if you're worried about ever being cringy, don't worry. We're all cringy. I'm cringy. Can't believe I did that. It's gonna replay in my mind all day long. Anyways, I'm really hoping that nobody noticed, but I noticed. Anyways, that's how tired I am. So bear with me. I have not had any caffeine this morning. I'm holding out for the caffeine so I can have a pumpkin spice latte later, because it is another fun fact for the day. It is the first rainy, gloomy, cold-ish, cool day in Texas, and I'm thriving, and it's not the best lighting, but I am thriving. So pumpkin spice latte later for sure. If I end up picking up books when I'm out, I might insert a clip here, but that's very unlikely. So anyways, we're gonna move on. We're gonna do what we're here to do. We're just talking about Cup of Gold from the perspective of somebody, me, who doesn't have a lot of learnings in literature or English. I don't have a degree. No, I'm not a professional, okay? I hope to be a professional, but currently not a professional. So let's talk about Cup of Gold. Firstly, this is about Henry Morgan. It is a pirate book. This is John Steinbeck's first book he has ever written, and that in itself is fairly incredible. But it follows the life. It's a fictional rendition of Henry Morgan's life. If you don't know who Henry Morgan is, he was a notorious pirate in the 1600s. He was the one who invaded Panama. Not a good dude. Not a good dude, alright? So already going into this knowing that it's going to be a villain story, which was really intriguing. I really like that. John Steinbeck puts it at the forefront that this is not a story about a hero, this is a story about a villain, and I really loved that. I wish more people would do that. It's pure villainy, alright? I really love that aspect of this book. Now that we know what it's about, I would love to give you a rating, but I had a hard time with this book. I could not for the life of me give it a rating. So I came up with this fancy idea, and I am gonna need you guys to rate this for me. So given my thoughts and my ideas, put yourself in my shoes and tell me what you think I would rate it, or what you would rate it. Tell me or if you have already read this book, what you did rate it. Because I'm curious. I don't quite know where I'm at with this book yet, and hopefully maybe talking it out with you guys, I might come to my mind. But yes, let's get into it. First off, the writing, immaculate. This is John Steinbeck's first book, and let me tell you, his affinity for being able to put himself in everybody's position, the nuances that he knows about the human complex, humanity just living, is amazing. How he was able to write in the perspective of a mother losing her son, I don't understand, but it hurt my heart. Alright, so there's a scene, for example, there's a scene in here where Henry, as a young child, tells, I think he's 10, tells his parents hey, the sea is calling me, I need to go, I need to leave. His parents are farmers. And his mom is please don't do it. I can't lose my baby. And he's sorry, I'm not a baby anymore, I'm going to leave. Broke my heart. I think maybe I have a quote. I don't think I have a quote of what happened there. Oh, here, his father. Here's a quote from his father when Henry decides he's going to leave. He says, "Why do men like me want sons?" he wondered. "It must be because they hope in their poor beaten souls that these new men, who are their blood, will do things that they were strong enough, nor wise enough, nor brave enough to do. It is rather like another chance with life, like a new bag of coins at a table of luck after your fortune is gone. Perhaps the boy is doing what I might have done had I been brave enough years past. Yes, the valley has smothered me, I think, and I am glad this boy of mine finds it in his power to vault the mountains and stride about the world, but it will be so very lonely here without him." Just stabbed me in the heart, okay? And then even more interestingly, in this book, Henry goes and sees Merlin, like the actual Merlin, like Arthurian Merlin. And I loved, there's two scenes with Merlin in them. It's at the beginning and the end of the book. He's kind of like not a narrator, but he's just kind of like this omniscient person in the story. And they're amazing. They're so insightful. Whatever, Merlin is like the prophetic, insightful person or character that you would expect Merlin to be. And it is amazing in this book. I loved all of like the little riddles, like the discussions he had with Henry and his father were just really beautiful. Oh, here. His mom, okay? His mom. It is a cruel thing to lose a son for whom you have lived continuously. Somehow she had imagined him always beside her, a little boy, and always beside her. She tried to think of the coming days and Henry not there, but the thought was just shattered on the bleak wall of a lean imagination. She attempted to consider him ungrateful so to run away from her. She recalled the harsh blows he dealt her, but always the mind snapped back. Henry was her little boy, and naturally he could not be mean nor treacherous. In some way, when all this talk and pain had drifted into thin air, he would be yet beside her, deliciously underfoot. Her mind, which had always been a scalpel of reality, her imagination, which dealt purely with the present outside of things, went fondling back to the baby who had crawled and stumbled and learned to talk. She forgot that he was going away at all, so deeply was she laughed in a when she laughed in a revelry of the silvery past. All right, once again, prose, beautiful, lyrical. I love the way he's able to form sentences and put words together in such a poetic way. It speaks to my soul. I will never get over that. Villain story. We have to discuss that this is a villain story. So I believe I read a book a year ago where it was centered around two men, and they had slaves. And the thing is that it was never brought up that what they were doing was wrong. Okay, the author never wrote them in a bad light, never addressed the situation of like the slavery. Literally, like these characters were doing heinous things to like these slaves. In this book, there are slaves. I mean, we're talking about what, the 1600s, 1650s, 1660s. We're talking about like slave trade, all right? And we're also talking about a pirate. But John Steinbeck does not lean away from the villain story. He leans into the villain story. So when we're presented with Henry and interactions with slaves, it's hard to read. I will admit that. It is like hard to read, but also it's like the beginning of his villainy. Henry's interactions with the slaves at the beginning of this book is very poignant, and it is meant, I think, to hurt you, and it's meant to give you like icky feeling towards Henry, right? Because that's the beginning of his villain story. And I really liked that. I did like there's no redeeming qualities to Henry, all right? And it's meant to be that way. It's very intriguing, very interesting. I love that in writing, and I want to see more books like that. I think that's right now, like the trend is morally gray, and that's great, but I do like a true villain story every now and again. Speaking of his interactions with slaves, one of the more interesting aspects of this book is that it is like the devastating part is the loss of Henry's innocence. So like kind of like how we discussed at the very beginning, he's an innocent boy. He just wants to go to Panama. He just wants to go to Puerto Rico. He just wants to be a pirate. Like, he wants to go on magical adventures and be a swashbuckling buccaneer, all right? And then you see the progression, right? So he goes out in the real world, and the real world kicks him back, and then he starts to interact with things like slavery. He's from a small valley town in the middle of the country. Like, this is his first interaction with slavery, and it's harsh and it's cruel. And that develops him as he continues on in life. It develops his interactions with other people, and his perspective on humanity. He slaughters wholesale, right? So he goes into towns, he's a pirate, he slaughters wholesale, and from his perspective, like, he doesn't see anything wrong with that. Like, he doesn't see anything wrong with that. His ability to value life is so limited, is so small. He doesn't see any value in life of other people's. Now that, once again, is a caveat to the other characters in this story, Jezebel, Coeur de Gris. One of the more interesting aspects of this book are those interactions with Henry. So their interactions with Henry as far as like, they're just, honestly just like their discussions, their back and forth, it's a lot more insightful to like Henry's thinking. And that's how we get Henry's point of view. So it's not first person, all right? We're kind of like a third person like view of everything, and it's those small interactions with Jezebel and Coeur de Gris and Merlin that give you Henry's perspective. And I love it. I honestly loved the sub-characters more than I liked Henry, of course. But I also thought those characters were just as intricate as Henry. We're talking about a book that is literally 186 pages. And you have such intricately woven characters, and like characters with so much depth, and like these conversations and these dialogues are amazing. I'll give you an example. Jezebel, Jezebel is like this mythically beautiful saint, right? So people have lauded her as a saint. She's beautiful, right? Henry meets Jezebel and kidnaps her. He's a pirate. We can all assume that he's going to kidnap the beautiful saint-like woman. And he holds her ransom. Her husband, Henry, gives like an exorbitant amount. He's like, I want 75,000 pieces of 8, which is an exorbitant amount, right? And he never thinks that her husband's actually going to pay up. Her husband pays up, and Jezebel's like, what is the price of me? Like, now I know how he values me. He values me so highly, and like, I have a price on me now. And like, who else could say that, right? And it's also like another sad moment as well, because once again, we're like just juxtapositioning slavery as well in that conversation. Hurts the heart. But also, afterwards, when Jezebel leaves, the messenger that came with the money looks at Henry and is like, it's not about her. It's about her wealth. So she's an heiress. Her husband does not value her. He values her wealth, her potential for money, she's an investment. Once again, juxtapositioning slavery. And it was just so amazing, and it's just so painful, because like you're rooting for Jezebel. Jezebel's an absolute, she's an absolute badass, to be honest with you. Her first interaction with Henry basically just looks at Henry and tells, in modern terms, we'd probably say that she looks at him and is like, your dick is small, right? She basically does the same thing to him, but in like 16th century terms, which is like, oh, I thought you were going to be a man about it, but I guess not. Like, Jezebel looks at Henry and is like, thought you were going to be a man about it, but I guess not. I'm like, oh, right? So like, I'm rooting for Jezebel, and this happens with her like ransom, and like she just goes off. She like will never realize or understand, at least for us as a reader, we'll never get to see the point in which she understands that her husband doesn't actually value her as 75,000 pieces of 8. He values her for her potential as a potential investment. It hurts the heart. It really hurts the heart. Then Court of Grease is like a whole other thing that I want to get into, because I don't want to spoil anything, because that was definitely a whole other thing as well. He has a speech, and I might be able to, a monologue, and I feel like I might be able to read that monologue. Oh, okay, ready? So here's his monologue. I'm not going to tell you, hopefully the context won't give anything away, but I think of what I have not done, of what I might have done in the years that are dying with me. I think of the lips of women I have never seen, of the wine that is sleeping in a grapeseed, of the quick, warm caress of my mother. But mostly, I think that I shall never walk about again, never, never stroll in the sunshine, nor smell the rich essence the full moon conjures up out of the earth. Sir, why did you do it? Sorry, I'm about to have like an aneurysm. Oh, it's so beautiful. I'm telling you. Gosh. I'm just like talking to you guys. I'm talking it out of me. I might give this 5 stars. Because like this is 186 pages, guys. I should have saved my short classics video for this. This is so beautiful. Here's another quote. Because we can't leave without at least 2 or 3 quotes, especially if it's a good Steinbeck. This is another character, right? Speaking to Henry. I think I am sorry because of your lost light, because the brave, brutal child in you is dead, the boastful child who mocked and thought his mockery shook the throne of God, the confident child who graciously permitted the world to accompany him through space. This child is dead, and I am sorry. I would go with you now if I thought it possible to warm the child to life again. Like, bombs. Steinbeck's dropping bombs. It's so beautifully written. I just want to sit here and like, if I could, I would read this book to you guys. The great sun of the morning lay struggling in gray mist, and on the deck the seamen swarmed like the angry populace of a broken hive. Okay, basically, I think I talked myself into 5 out of 5 stars. I think I did. I can't. Yep. 5 out of 5 stars. Cup of gold. I could honestly talk probably longer about this, but I feel like I've probably ranted just a little bit much. I mean, there's this beautiful metaphor with Merlin about young men reaching for cups of gold, and like he hopes that Henry is able to do that and to also reach for him. Yeah. Merlin laughs softly. Of course you must, Henry, and catch a big firefly, won't you? Goodbye, child. Merlin just like sending Henry out into the world and like do the things, you know, almost like his father was, like do everything that nobody else can do right now. Like catch the big firefly, find the cup of gold, like do it. And it's just beautiful. And I love it. And I'm like literally getting goosebumps, guys. All right. This was a winner. All right. Yes. I also love, if you don't know yet, I also just love adventure, nautical adventure stories. So like, should have known this one was going to be a hit. All right. Hold on. I'm about to say goodbye. Don't worry. That is it. Tell me what your thoughts are below. Have I convinced you to read this book? Will you want to read this book? Have you read this book? Tell me what you think. Is there another Steinbeck out there that is just as good? Besides East of Eden. I know East of Eden is good. Tell me. Maybe that's why I like this book, because it gives me like John Steinbeck, East of Eden vibes, even though East of Eden was his last book. Close to his last book. Anyways. Yes. Highly recommend. That is it for today. I will be back next month with another Steinbeck book. I think the next one should be The Canary Row, which is like the sequel to Tortilla Flat, and we know how that went. If you don't know how that went, I'll link it down below. Anyways, love you guys. Or I can't link it down below. I'm doing that video together. Love you guys. I'll see you next time.